The Virelians had been waiting. For decades, maybe centuries, their sense of time was irrelevant to them. But in every moment, they had expected a reply. A formal acknowledgement from the strange, chaotic species called humans. Something neat, predictable, logical. Anything but silence. From their orbital station, the Virelians observed Earth with cold precision, scanning every electromagnetic whisper, every minor atmospheric fluctuation. Signals flicker across their monitors, bursts of radio, erratic light pulses, and occasional chaos disguised as noise. And yet, none of it conformed to the patterns the Virelians understood. They frowned collectively, as much as a telepathic hive could frown. Meanwhile, aboard the Pioneer, Earth's exploratory flagship, Captain Lena Ortiz leaned back in her chair, eyes half closed, one boot propped on the console. She exhaled, the softest echoing in the cabin. "All right, team," she said, voice calm but carrying a familiar edge of authority. "We're here. First contact. First impressions. First, whatever the Virelians expect. Remember, predictable equals boring. Boring equals dead." Her crew glanced up from their stations. Each carried the kind of nervous energy that only humans could generate. A mix of excitement, curiosity, and a smidge of irrational optimism. Dr. Emery Shaw, perched on a stool cluttered with tools and cables, raised an eyebrow. "You sure we're not overthinking this? They've got the tech to vaporize us without so much as a thought." Lena smirked. "That's why we're overthinking it. And improvising. We humans have a track record, remember?" Emery tapped a schematic on the display, showing the vessel propulsion array. "I'll admit, if anyone can turn scrap into salvation, it's me. But we can't exactly negotiate with an alien species if they don't recognize our signals." "Maybe that's the point," interjected Kai Tanaka, floating slightly off the deck due to microgravity. Hair drifting like smoke. Kai's wide eyes were alight with wonder. "Maybe they want to see what humans actually do, not what we say. Maybe they're waiting for us to act, to create something they can't predict." Rex O'Malley leaned against a bulkhead, arms crossed, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Or maybe they just like watching us make fools of ourselves. Either way, I'm ready to entertain." Lena shot him a pointed look. "Try to keep the entertainment life-preserving. O'Malley." The crew's banter, light-hearted as it was, belied the tension in the cabin. Humanity's first interstellar contact was no small matter. They weren't diplomats by training. They were explorers, problem-solvers, dreamers, and occasionally reckless pilots. Each of them contributed something no alien could anticipate. Ingenuity in the face of the impossible, humor in the face of despair, and a kind of resilient chaos that no algorithm could model. Their sensors beeped, alerting them to the Virelian observation fleet. Lena leaned forward, eyes scanning the readings. The aliens had arrived quietly, their ship sleek, angular, and disturbingly silent. Predictable, in a way only Virelians could be. "Here's the part where we don't do the boring thing," Lena said, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. "We don't signal. We do what humans do best." Kai's grin widened. "We improvise?" "Yes, exactly that," Lena said. "We improvise. We adapt. We survive. And we make it look effortless while they try to figure us out." The Pioneer drifted closer to the observation zone. The Virelian vessels were unmoving, almost statuesque, like polished black monoliths hanging in the void. Emery tapped at a panel, sending out a test pulse, a simple, coded greeting in electromagnetic waves. Within milliseconds, the signal was ignored, not because the Virelians didn't detect it, but because it wasn't the kind of formal reply they expected. "They're not responding," Emery muttered. "They are responding," Kai corrected, eyes gleaming, "just not in their way. Watch." Kai tapped a few commands, repurposing the ship's environmental systems to create a small, control light show outside the hull, pulsing colors and patterns that made no logical sense. Emery winced. "That's dangerously whimsical." Rex whistled. "I like it. Confuses them, and probably makes them angry." Lena nodded. "Exactly. If they're expecting a structured, predictable response, they'll get something entirely human instead. In the observation station above, the Virelians sensed the pattern or lack thereof. Their telepathic sensors registered emotion, but the signals were chaotic. Humor, curiosity, confidence, and that maddening human stubbornness. They didn't understand laughter or improvisation or the deliberate defiance of expectation. Yet, somewhere beneath the confusion, they felt the unmistakable pulse of life, raw and uncontainable. Hours passed. The humans went about their routines, tinkering, experimenting, joking, and sometimes arguing. A minor system malfunction led to a brief but harmless cascade of sparks, which Rex theatrically dodged, eliciting laughter from the crew. The Virelians interpreted it as a strange form of ritual, though they couldn't identify its purpose. By the end of the day, the humans had done nothing that resembled a formal diplomatic signal. They had repaired minor malfunctions with duct tape and ingenuity, reprogrammed minor systems for experiments that made no strategic sense, and celebrated small victories with laughter, gestures, and absurd bets. "Captain," Emery said finally, a rare note of awe in his voice, "I think they're watching, and not understanding a single thing we're doing." "Perfect," Lena said. She leaned back again, eyes scanning the black expanse beyond the viewport. "They can wait. Humans don't wait for perfection. We act. We improvise. And if they're smart, they'll figure out eventually." Kai floated closer, eyes shining. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" "They'll try," Lena said, voice calm but firm. "And in the meantime, we'll keep showing them what humans actually do. Not what they expect, not what's convenient, but what works." And so, the Pioneer drifted through the void, a small, vibrant bubble of chaos, ingenuity, and life. The Virelians waited, tense and increasingly perplexed, scanning for a conventional message that never came. Unbeknownst to them, humanity had already spoken, not with words, but with action. The first contact had begun, and the message was clear. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and creative in ways no rigid logic could contain. The Virelians would learn this lesson soon enough, but not yet. For now, they could only watch. And wait. Silence. But not the silence they expected. The first warning came not as a threat, but as a flicker on the sensors, a sudden, irregular pulse of energy near the Earth's outer colonies. The Pioneer's alert system shrieked, jarring the crew from their casual routines. Lena's eyes snapped open, hands gripping the console. "Status report," she ordered, voice crisp. Emery leaned over the displays, fingers dancing across the touch panels. "It's a fleet of rogue Virelian ships. Not the monitoring squad. They're smaller, faster, and hostile. They're targeting the Belvar mining colony. Casualty estimate. Potentially catastrophic." Rex whistled low. "Hostile aliens. Just what I needed to spice up the morning." Kai floated close, eyes wide with a mix of excitement and dread. "They're testing us or the colony. Either way, we can't just sit here." "Exactly," Lena said. "We go in. We improvise. We adapt. Humans never do the boring, predictable thing." The Pioneer jumped into faster-than-light transit, engines humming with controlled precision. The colony's location came into view. Sprawling industrial platforms tethered together like metallic constellations, vulnerable and exposed. Smoke and minor explosions flickered from some sectors. Panic was already spreading. Emery assessed the situation with a frown. "Weapons are adequate, but they're outclassed. The Virelians are precise, lethal, and completely logical. Conventional combat won't work." Kai's eyes sparkled. "Then we go unconventional. Humans don't follow the expected path. We create the unexpected." Rex clapped his hands. "Finally, my kind of plan." The first phase of their strategy was improvisation. Emery turned the colony's mining drones into mobile defensive units, equipping them with makeshift magnetic nets, plasma traps, and improvised gravity disruptors. None of it was standard military procedure, but human ingenuity rarely adhered to manuals. "They're going to be very confused," Emery muttered, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "Confusion is a weapon," Lena said. "Use it." Kai contributed his part by scrambling communications channels, sending false telemetry signals to the incoming Virelian fighters. Patterns suggested phantom reinforcements and phantom energy fields. The aliens, logical and rigid, hesitated. A rational mind could not account for the chaos unfolding. "Look at them squirm," Rex said, leaning back in the seat, legs propped on the console. "It's beautiful." Lena shot him a look. "Try not to get vaporized while you admire it." As the battle began, humans relied on unpredictability. The Virelians approached in tight formations, expecting coordinated resistance. Instead, drones swooped erratically, mining beams repurposed into energy nets that tangled alien craft mid-flight, and sudden gravitational spikes sent enemy ships spinning harmlessly into empty space. Every move defied expectation. Every tactic hinged on creative problem-solving, not brute strength. Yet the humans' humor never faltered, even under stress. Kai joked about turning the colony's cafeteria robots into decoys. Rex gave running commentary on alien piloting skill or lack thereof, while dodging blasts with a flair bordering on suicidal. Emery grunted as he recalibrated a gravity trap mid-attack, muttering, "If this explodes, it'll be magnificent chaos." Lena, at the center of it all, orchestrated their improvisations like a conductor guiding a chaotic symphony. Her calm authority kept the crew focused, yet she never missed an opportunity for subtle commentary. "Emery, please keep the colony intact. Rex, try to avoid collateral damage. Kai, if you make any more illusions, don't accidentally trap the civilians in them." Through ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer unpredictability, the humans slowly turned the tide. One by one, Virelian fighters were ensnared, misdirected, or flung into oblivion. By the time the rogue fleet realized they were fighting something beyond logic, the humans had already dismantled their offensive advantage. The Virelians observing from orbit were perplexed. Their calculations had failed. Every expected outcome had been overturned. Humans acted with apparent recklessness, yet somehow, every chaotic move was effective. They adapted mid-strategy, repaired damages spontaneously, and capitalized on opportunities no alien protocol could anticipate. Finally, the rogue fleet withdrew, forced into retreat by the unorthodox human tactics. The Belvar colony, though battered, remained operational, a testament to human resilience. The Pioneer drifted above the platform, engines idling. Lena exhaled, tension easing slightly. "Well, team, we didn't get vaporized. That counts as a win." Rex grinned. "By my calculations, 100% entertaining. 50% likely to get us killed, 75% chance the aliens hate us more now." Kai chuckled, floating near the viewport. "They might hate us, but they're learning something about us too. They can't predict us. They can't control us. They can only watch." Emery wiped sweat from his brow, a triumphant grin spreading. "And they're going to have nightmares about duct tape and mining equipment." Lena smiled faintly, eyes scanning the comm aftermath. "We're not here to send a polite message. We're here to show them humanity. Our resilience, our creativity, our messy brilliance. If they can't understand words, they can understand action." The crew shared a brief, quiet moment of triumph. Laughter, relief, and a shared sense of accomplishment filled the cabin. But there was no time to linger. The humans knew this was only the first test. Above them, the Virelians continued to observe. Their collective consciousness registered the humans' unorthodox tactics with increasing confusion, and something else, something they had not expected: admiration. The species they had waited for, expecting predictability, had shown something far stranger and more dangerous: brilliance wrapped in chaos. Somewhere in a hive mind, a thought began to form. Perhaps this silence, this refusal to respond in the ways the Virelians understood, was itself a statement, a declaration of identity. Back aboard the Pioneer, Lena turned to her crew, voice calm, resolute. "They're waiting for a reply. They don't realize we've already sent one. Let's keep sending it, one action at a time." Rex raised an eyebrow. "And if they still don't get it?" Lena smirked. "Then we improvise again." Kai floated closer, eyes bright with wonder. "Every time we do, they'll understand a little more. Or at least they'll think they understand." Emery shook his head with a grin. "Either way, it's working. They've never seen anything like us." Outside the viewport, the rogue Virelian fleet faded into the distance. leaving the Belvar colony intact and a faint ripple of human ingenuity lingering in space. The first battle was over. Humans had won not through brute force, not through protocol or logic, but through imagination, adaptability, and the chaotic brilliance of action. And somewhere in the silent observation stations above Earth, the Virilians continued to wait for a reply that had already been given, but not in the way they expected. The calm after the Belvar skirmish was short-lived. Sensors aboard the Pioneer detected a gravitational anomaly forming near the outer solar orbit, a massive disturbance that threatened to tear apart colonies, satellites, and any vessel caught in its pull. Captain Ortiz leaned over the console, brow furrowed. This isn't just a test. This is a full-on existential crisis. Everyone ready to improvise on a galactic scale? Emery Shaw muttered under his breath as he examined the readings. It's huge. Entire fleets could be shredded if we don't act. And there's no precedent for this kind of anomaly. It doesn't follow any natural patterns we've seen. Kai Tanaka's eyes sparkled with that uncontainable mixture of fear and wonder. It's beautiful in a terrifying sort of way. But we can't admire for long. We have to do something. Rex O'Malley, arms crossed and leaning lazily against the wall, grinned. Finally, my kind of fun. High stakes, high risk, high probability of being vaporized spectacularly. Count me in. Lena shot him a look. Try to survive spectacularly, preferably with the rest of us. The anomaly's approach left no time for conventional planning. Virilian fleets observed from afar, as immobile as statues, calculating probabilities, yet never acting. Their logic could not accommodate the chaotic brilliance of humans responding to a problem with nothing but instinct, intelligence, and sheer improvisation. We'll need to think fast, Lena said, turning to her crew. Emery, I want a shield system that can survive irregular gravitational pulses. Kai, I need creative countermeasures. Anything that bends physics without breaking it. Rex, you're on? Well, improvising danger. Make it count. Emery's hands moved over control panels like a pianist playing an impossible concerto. He rerouted energy flows, fused mining-grade force fields with experimental thrusters, and added micro-adjustments to the ship's hull dynamics. It's going to be unstable, he warned, but if it works, we survive. If it fails, well, at least it'll be memorable. Kai floated near the observation deck, holographic projections spinning in midair. What if we use asteroids as deflection anchors? We can redirect the gravitational flux, using momentum to shield the colonies. It's unconventional, but it might work. Rex's grin widened. I love it when plans sound suicidal. Sign me up for unconventional. Lena kept her gaze fixed on the anomaly, analyzing its pulsing rhythm. Timing and coordination are everything. Humans can adapt on the fly. That's our advantage. We may not be predictable, but we are resilient. The first maneuver involved using the colony's asteroid mining apparatus as a makeshift gravitational counterweight. Emery rigged thrusters on several asteroids, turning them into floating shields capable of absorbing sudden gravitational surges. The calculations were razor-thin. One misstep, and the entire setup could collapse. Rex piloted a smaller vessel to guide the asteroids into position, weaving through space like a stunt pilot at a galactic carnival. If anyone asks, this was my idea all along. He quipped as a loose asteroid nearly grazed the hull. Kai improvised an energy field network, projecting pulses that nudged the anomaly's gravitational waves into predictable arcs. His solution was audacious, bending physics within safe margins, relying on human intuition rather than alien mathematics. Emery monitored the systems, recalibrating energy outputs in real time. Sparks flew, alarms sounded, and a minor hull breach threatened to panic the crew. Lena's calm voice cut through the chaos. Stay focused. Adjust. Adapt. Humans don't give up. The anomaly responded unpredictably. It pulsed, twisted, and sent tidal waves of gravitational force outward, destroying conventional sensors. Virilian observers, telepathically monitoring humans, were bewildered. Every move was effective yet chaotic, defying their understanding of logic and order. Hours passed. The crew worked in synchronized improvisation, their actions a seamless blend of creativity and courage. Kai's projections redirected gravitational surges, Emery's shields absorbed destabilizing pulses, and Rex guided the asteroids into precisely calculated positions. Lena coordinated with quiet authority, intervening only when necessary, her eyes scanning patterns the others couldn't see. At one moment, a massive surge threatened to overwhelm their shields. Emery shouted, hull integrity dropping. We need a live vector adjustment. Now. Rex didn't hesitate. He cut across the anomaly's path, using the asteroid anchors to create a temporary bypass. Sparks erupted along his thruster lines. Hull plating groaned, but the maneuver worked. Kai clapped his hands in exhilaration. Did anyone else see that? That was insane. Lena allowed herself a faint smile. Insane, yes, but effective. Humans do best what no algorithm can predict. Adapt in the impossible. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the anomaly's pulsations began to stabilize. The gravitational waves were redirected, diffused by the humans' improvised defenses, and the colonies, though battered, remained intact. The crew floated in exhaustion, adrenaline ebbing, sharing small, incredulous laughs. Even Rex, covered in soot and scratches, had to admit that actually worked. Kai's voice was soft but triumphant. They'll remember this. Whoever watches us, they'll finally understand. Not our words, but our actions. Emery nodded, wiping his brow. If survival is a measure of intelligence, humans just leveled up. Lena allowed herself a moment of pride. The weight of responsibility still heavy, but the crew's brilliance undeniable. This is what humans do, she said quietly. We face the impossible. We adapt. We survive. We create solutions when logic says there are none. Above them, the Virelians continued to observe. Their collective mind raced for calculations, yet every prediction fell short. Humans had succeeded where logic failed, where protocol would have dictated surrender. The Virelians began to recognize something fundamental. Humans were not just clever, they were unpredictably brilliant. Somewhere deep in their hive consciousness, the realization emerged slowly. The humans had not sent a conventional reply. They had sent something far more profound: action, ingenuity, and courage. The silence the Virelians had lamented was no absence. It was a declaration. Back aboard the Pioneer, Lena turned to her crew. They're still waiting for words. But they don't need words. We've already answered. We've been answering all along, through everything we do. Rex cracked a grin, still hovering near the viewport. And I didn't even break anything this time. Well, not seriously. Just a little chaos. Kai floated close to Lena, eyes alight. Every move we make teaches them something new. Every improvisation is a lesson in humanity. Emery smirked. If only they realize our messages come wrapped in duct tape, sparks, and bad jokes. Lena's smile was quiet, thoughtful, and resolute. They'll understand eventually. For now, we rest, recharge, and keep showing them what humans do best. Outside, the anomaly faded, leaving ripples across space as subtle reminders of the challenge overcome. The colonies hummed back to life, systems recalibrating, machinery groaning in relief. The humans had survived. They had triumphed, not because of superior technology, but because of creativity, adaptability, and irrepressible, chaotic brilliance no algorithm could ever predict. The anomaly had faded, the colonies were safe, and the rogue Virelians were in retreat. Yet aboard the Pioneer, the crew knew their work was far from over. Somewhere beyond the void, the silent observers waited, watching humanity's chaotic brilliance with growing perplexity. Captain Lena Ortiz leaned back in her chair, eyes sweeping control room. We've survived, adapted, and improvised. That's our message. The question is, will they get it? Rex O'Malley smirked, dangling a tether like a rope swing in zero-G. If they don't get it, it's their loss. We're entertaining, lethal, and unpredictable. What more could a species want? Kai Tanaka floated closer, excitement tempered by awe. They will get it. I think they're starting to understand that words aren't our only language. Action speaks louder than logic, louder than expectation. Emery Shaw adjusted a panel, checking the shields and propulsion arrays. It's almost poetic, isn't it? They wanted a message. They got our performance instead. Chaos, ingenuity, humor, humans in motion. Lena's gaze softened as she watched her crew, each of them embodying a facet of humanity: ingenuity, courage, unpredictability, and imagination. "They'll understand," she said quietly. "Not immediately, but eventually. Our silence has been speaking all along." The first formal contact arrived in an unexpected way. From the depths of space, a Virelian vessel disengaged from the monitoring station and approached the Pioneer with deliberate precision. Unlike the rogue fleets, this was careful, measured, and cautious. Lena activated the external communication interface. A stream of symbols flickered across the viewport, an alien attempt at diplomacy. The Virelians were speaking, finally, but the words themselves seemed secondary, almost ceremonial. They had watched humanity act, and now they were ready to acknowledge it. Rex leaned against the console, hands behind his head. "Finally, I was starting to think they'd just keep staring forever, or analyzing us into existential despair," Kai added, floating near the viewport. Emery shook his head, grinning. "I still say our improvised asteroid shields were the highlight. But yes, let's entertain this formalities thing." Lena's fingers danced across the interface, sending back a message in the form humans understood best: action, creativity, and subtle humor. She initiated a demonstration of the colony's rebuilt systems, highlighting human problem-solving and adaptability. The Pioneer maneuvered in zero-gravity arcs, synchronized with energy projection that cast whimsical, impossible patterns onto the surrounding asteroid field. The Virelians paused, telepathically scanning, attempting to decode intent. But the patterns weren't threatening. They were expressive. The aliens had expected protocol. They had expected submission. They had not expected brilliance wrapped in chaos. Kai clapped his hands. "See? They get it now. Not fully, maybe, but the message is clear." Emery chuckled. "Yes, our silence and our actions. That's what humans are. That's what we do." Rex floated near the viewport, grin widening. "And if they still don't get it, we'll just do something even crazier next time. That's the fun part." Lena allowed herself a rare smile. "Exactly. We're human. We improvise, we adapt, we survive. That's how we communicate. That's how we conquer the impossible without ever surrendering to fear." For a moment, silence fell aboard the ship, not emptiness, but a quiet affirmation. The crew's laughter, the hum of machinery, the faint glow of distant stars, all that formed a subtle tapestry of life. A declaration more profound than any formal signal. We exist, we persist, and we will not conform to your expectations. From their observation station, the Virelians' collective consciousness registered it. For the first time, they paused and reconsidered their assumptions. Logic alone could not explain humans. Predictable protocols failed. Yet the humans had communicated their essence in every improvisation, every calculated risk, every spark of humor amid chaos. A Virelian voice, or something like a voice, a mental resonance rather than sound, entered Lena's awareness. It was cautious, curious, almost reverent. "We understand differently than expected." Lena tilted her head, the corners of her lips curling. "That's fine. That's exactly the point. Humans don't always communicate in ways you can decode. Sometimes you just have to watch and see what we do." Rex laughed. "And occasionally, we almost blow ourselves up doing it. But hey, teaches a lesson in humility, too." Kai drifted to Lena's side, pointing toward the alien vessel. "They're trying to replicate our patterns. Or at least figure them out. They can't, of course. Humans are humans." Emery tapped the panel, nodding. "They may try, but understanding humans will never be fully logical. And that's our strength." The Virelian vessel extended a kind of formal invitation, a gesture more than a message, a tacit acknowledgement that they had witnessed something remarkable. The humans had not only survived, they had defined themselves through action. Lena addressed her crew, voice steady but proud. "This is the essence of humanity. We face challenges that seem impossible, and we make solutions where none exist. We act, we create, and we adapt. That's our reply to the universe." Rex raised a mock salute. Silent, chaotic, deadly. "I like it." Kai grinned. "And brilliant, in ways no one could anticipate." Emery's hands hovered over the console. The universe doesn't get humans until it watches them in motion. That's our language. That's our signature. Lena looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of every choice, every improvisation, every victory. We didn't speak. We didn't submit to expectation. We acted. That's the message they'll carry, whether they realize it or not. Outside, the Virelians observed silently. For the first time, they recognized that the human silence was not absence, but communication itself. It was messy, chaotic, unpredictable, and infinitely human. And humanity, in its infinite unpredictability, had sent the strongest message of all. The crew of the Pioneer exchanged glances, each understanding the truth without words. Laughter bubbled softly through cabin, mingling with the hum of the engines. A brief celebration, quiet yet profound, for surviving, adapting, and defining themselves before a universe that expected them to conform. Rex floated to the viewport, voice teasing but filled with genuine awe. So, they finally get it. Or at least they're learning. Or at least watching us squirm. Same difference. Kai laughed, adding, watching humans in action is a lesson in itself. Emery shook his head, still smiling. Who knew duct tape, sparks, and bad jokes could send such a message? Lena allowed herself a deep, rare breath, satisfaction settling over her like starlight. We didn't wait for their approval. We didn't play by their rules. We acted. That's humanity. And now we continue. Above them, the Virelians finally understood something fundamental. Humans could not be measured, predicted, or constrained by logic alone. Their brilliance, resilience, and creativity were alive in every action, in every improvisation. The silence the Virelians had anticipated was no absence. It was a very message of humanity itself. And somewhere in the infinite dark, the universe listened.